1997 movie review. This is Jackie Brown, directed by Quentin Tarantino, who's also responsible for the writing credits, although is influenced from the Elmore Leonard novel. And the cast in the lead roles: Pam Grier plays Jackie Brown, Samuel L. Jackson plays Ordell Robbie, Robert Forster plays Max Cherry, and Bridget Fonda is Melanie Ralston, Ordell's girlfriend. Michael Keaton plays Ray Nicolette, and Robert De Niro, who's a sort of associate of Ordell, he plays Louis Gara, and Chris Tucker plays Beaumont Livingston, and Lisa Gay Hamilton turns up as Sharonda, and there's a huge cast, but I'm not going to tell you them all because we'll be here for hours. Let's quickly shoot down to the awards. Yes, this third Tarantino movie was the subject of the award seasons. Robert Forster received a nomination for Best Actor in a Supporting Role at the Academy Awards, and at the Golden Globes, the Best Performance by Actor was nomination in the Comedy or Musical section to Samuel L. Jackson, and another nomination for Best Actress for Pam Grier, also in the Comedy or Musical section. Very amusing. Quentin Tarantino launched his directing career on the unsuspecting movie public with the violence, thrills and comedic type of psychosis with Reservoir Dogs in 1992, and then followed it up with the award-winning Pulp Fiction the following year, winning the Best Original Screenplay Oscar after taking over the coveted Palme d'Or in 1994. After what seemed like an eternity, Jackie Brown was released in 1997 and was received with less enthusiasm, it had to be said. However, I watched it for a second time recently, enjoyed it first time round, and was still riveted to the screen, mainly because of two things: Samuel L. Jackson's wacky performance as Ordell, a seriously psychotic individual who's the centre of a twisty crime thriller that has a variety of mini subplots and quirky scenes that remind you of Tarantino's distinctive original style of direction. The 70s music is a breeze. Lots of Motown soul songs which help ease you through the drier parts of the script. Alongside Jackson, there's an array of strange characters connected to Ordell in one shape or another. Melanie, played by Bridget Fonda, is his white, horny girlfriend who tends to spend all her time getting stoned and watching B-rated daytime TV. Then there's Louis, an old friend. They did time together way back, and Ordell is easing Louis back into the scene. That scene is illegal gun running to Mexico in exchange for cash, a lot of it. And then there's Max, a bail bondsman who's kept busy by Ordell through Ordell's frequent need to get one of his criminal flock bailed for indulgence, mainly in drug possession or trafficking. And then there's the DEA officers, drug enforcement, headed up by Ray, played by Michael Keaton. He's a shady sort of guy who likes doing deals to impress his bosses. And then, of course, there is Jackie Brown, played by Pam Grier. She works for a low-budget airline as a flight attendant and is working for Ordell, bringing in the cash from Mexico. We see Jackie arriving and passing through customs at LAX, but then she's pulled over by Ray and his fellow detective. Some money's found, of course, $10,000, and they also find some cocaine, but that was probably planted by them, as Jackie knows nothing about it. She's then offered a deal if she grasses out the top dog. And this sets off a chain of events that Jackie tries to get a hold of to worm out of the possibility of 2 years inside for possession of narcotics. The film shifts to Odell's apartment. We see a bizarre set of ads for automated weaponry, AK-47s and others. The guns are displayed by bikini-clad girls, and Odell gives a monologue, a narrative to friend Lewis about the whys and wherefores of these heavy artillery guns. He knows the virtues of each of them, and it's clear that this is the weaponry that Odell is selling to cartels, revolutionary groups and criminal gangs in Central and South America. The selling style is typically goofy chats that Jackson is renowned for in Tarantino movies. Remember Jules talking to Vincent in Pulp Fiction in the hotel room. So after that sales pitch, we then meet Melanie. She is into excess, doing dope, watching TV, and impulsive sex. The quickie with Lewis is notable for its lack of passion. Odell then has to leave to meet another of his so-called couriers who's been arrested. Odell provides bail via Max, and played by Foster. And then he proceeds to weigh up the risk factor of Livingston, the guy he's got out on bail, turning state witness against him. He's likely, Livingston, to possibly do up to 10 years. But Odell decides it'd be simpler to eliminate. And so we see a brief scene when he convinces Livingston to get in the trunk of his car and takes him to some wasteland, opens up the trunk, and with a volley of shots puts an end to the matter. The money that's been used for bail is then switched to Jackie, and she is taken out of prison by Max, and there is an immediate chemistry between them, which becomes crucial as the movie develops. Max is a steady sort of character nearing retirement. He's pretty bored with dealing with criminals, sociopaths and deranged folk, and wants warms to Jackie's normalcy. She must have just been unlucky, he thinks. Tarantino uses close-ups throughout the movie, particularly on Jackie Brown, and you see every wrinkle. It's very powerful in enabling the viewer to really see the character. Jackie is attractive, but she's not that young now, but hardened towards survival. Odell, however, becomes more obsessed with Jackie possibly snitching on him, and in an early scene at her apartment, she waits ready for him and shows how adept she is at turning the tables and using her persuasive charm to get Odell on board for her plan to bring in $500,000 of his money in a new move further down the line. Jackie then constructs 3 plans. One to get Ray and the DEA on board, another to deal with Odell's paranoia, and a third which will benefit her the most. She convinces Max to assist in the third option. Odell gets Melanie and Lewis on board for the second, and the feds are swayed by a dummy run of exchange of cash at a mall, which would then lead them to arresting Odell and closing the case and busting the operation wide open. This plot is a little complex to follow, I must say, but then the actual exchange of 50 grand is made for the feds. The 500 grand, which Odell believes he's going to get, and that's part of Jackie's deception, of course, as she creams off the jackpot for herself, and this is the essence of the movie. Tarantino borrows the techniques first seen by Kurosawa in Rashomon to show the argument, to show what happens in the shopping stall, and we see the scene of the handover in 3 takes, taken from 3 perspectives: the Fed's, Odell's, and of course Jackie's. And this is extremely interesting to watch. So that is probably the highlight of the movie, so don't miss it. At that particular time, closely after the switch is made, there's a bizarre scene in the car park. It's a debate between Lewis and Melanie about who carries the bag with the money. It's comedic at best, but it turns nasty, and I'll leave you to work out what happens. Then we later find Odell meeting up with Lewis, and this is also one of the highlights of the film. An absolutely insane discussion between Odell and Lewis about why the bag full of money is short by nearly $500,000. So, having witnessed Odell's reaction in the camper van with Lewis to being short-changed nearly $500,000, we then move on to his reaction when he finds out about Melanie, and then we're in the car as he discusses with Max how he wants the future to work out when they meet up with Jackie at her apartment. This is also a particularly bizarre scene as he talks to Max in a manic sort of way, which suggesting that he's losing control of the situation. The psychosis is ramped up to maximum, and you know someone's going to get hurt. It's great stuff, though. Reminded me very much of the Western-style showdowns in Sergio Leone's The Good, the Bad, For a Few Dollars More, etc. So there we have it. Overall, it's an easier narrative to follow than the one in Pulp Fiction, but it has less comedic moments and certainly considerably less violence. And disappointing, really, with particularly the character played by De Niro and the one played by Fonda. They weren't filled out particularly well. De Niro, apart from the car park scene, appears to be dumb and naive throughout. But full marks to Pam Grier's character, who's slick, suave and magnetic. And of course to the star, Jackson, for being repeating the N-word at every opportunity and being every bit the crazy African-American criminal. It's a pleasure to watch him at work, and it really does make the film a worthwhile watch. The N-word caused a bit of a problem with the movie Fraternity, but Jackson said in an interview that this was the language that he grew up with, that young African Americans always use it in LA and other big cities, and to remove it would be a travesty. And of course the music is great. So Tarantino's third movie, definitely worth a watch. Go and see it. It's called Jackie Brown, and it was released in 1997.